Not perfect, yet good was life. Along with a decent set of friends, a great apartment in downtown Chicago, and a compensated creative director position, I had true. My family life wasn't perfect. My younger brother Ethan had always been preferred by my parents. Still living at home, he was 27 and a king in avoidance of responsibility. Still, they were family, and I always thought of myself as looking out for. That was prior to my bank calling. My phone buzzed with an unidentified number while I was at work. Something guided me to grab it. David from the bank here, Mr. Collins. We are phoning to confirm a charge on your account. My gut fell. One charge? Not used that specific credit card in months. My emergency card was with me. Oh, what charge? We noted a $50,000 purchase to a travel agency. Was this approved by you? $50,000? My brain froze. Surely not, I managed to say. David said they would put the charge on hold, as it was noted as odd. I hung up, thanked him, and right away signed into my account. There it was, a $50,000 outstanding bill for a Mediterranean luxury trip. It then clicked for me, her parents. I had been sending them $2,000 a month to help with their bills and mortgage for years. They said they were struggling constantly, while Ethan did nothing. However, a luxury cruise. That was a low not seen before. Trying to keep my voice cool, I phoned my mother. Hey Mom, odd question. Did you or Dad use my credit card for something? She giggled. Oh Alex, don't overreact. We thought you wouldn't mind. Thought? Mind? She had not yet heard the whole story. What do you mean? Did you charge a cruise to my credit? Well, yes, she remarked nonchalantly. It's for Ethan's birthday. He's been rather under pressure lately. Ethan? Pressured? The man who spends his days surfing TikTok and gaming. I snapped. Mom, that's 50 grand. Not a little break. Alex, you're performing so brilliantly at work. We figured you wouldn't mind helping out your brother. It's family after all. My blood was heating. Helping out is lending someone $20 for gas, not dropping $50,000 on a vacation I did not even know about. You didn't even ask me. You realize how illegal this is? She waved off. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Besides, Ethan was so excited. He even said he would bring you back a souvenir. It's just money. You'll make it back in no time. A souvenir? As though a Santorini keychain would cover this obvious pilfering. Not even sure I could reply. With a shaky voice. Mom, I murmured at last. This isn't okay. I'm reporting the charge. She laughed heartily. You wouldn't do that to your own family, I said, hanging back before she could add another word. Watch me. As I phoned Ethan, my hands were shaking. He reacted enthusiastically. Hey bro, what's up? What's up? Are you serious? I asked. Explain why my credit card sponsored your Mediterranean cruise. Ethan burst out laughing. Oh, that? Mom said it'd be fine. She said you wouldn't mind since you're packed. Loaded? I work my ass off to afford my life. It's not like I have wads of cash lying around for you to blow, Ethan. This isn't fine. It's theft. You stole $50,000 from me. Laughing once more, he said, Relax, buddy. We're family. It's not a big deal. You'll be good. I was virtually yelling now. Not a big deal. You wasted my money without permission. That's a big deal. Ethan resumed laughing. You're so tense, man. Maybe you also need a vacation. That's it. I hung up and contacted my bank straight back. I claimed fraud and reported the charge as unapproved. The bank guaranteed me they would look at and freeze the account. I was confused and angry, as well as incredulous when I hung up. My own family utilized me without even thinking about it. The cruise was terrible. A single, stunningly costly mistake in judgment. As it happened, though, $50,000 was only the tip of the iceberg. David from the bank called once more the next day. I swear, I nearly laughed. Mind you, more like the type you let out when you're so surprised you don't know what else to do. Not a happy laugh. Mr. Collins, he said in that professional manner, while investigating the $50,000 charge, we noticed additional transactions on the same card. Did you also authorize $23,000 for private tours, $8,000 for luxury hotel upgrades, and another $12,000 for dining expenses? His tone was not very soothing. I essentially yelled into the phone, What? My brain whirled. David opened his mouth to cough. Would you like to dispute these as well? These charges were made over the past 3 weeks. Tightly speaking, yes, I answered. Dispute every single one of them. I felt as though I would explode by the time I hung up. They hadn't merely charged $50,000. No, their total came to $93,000. It was utter delusion, rather than audacity now. Ethan considered himself a friggin' king. Time of confrontation. There is no more circling the issue. First, Ethan. When I phoned, he shockingly didn't answer. I so texted, "Pick up the phone, now." A few minutes later, he phoned back, as usual, casually. "Hey, brother, what's up?" "What's up, Ethan?" I asked, sarcasm tumbling from my mouth. "The bank just told me you spent an extra $43,000 on hotels and tours. What the hell is wrong with you?" Like I was irritating him, Ethan sighed. "Alex, why are you panicking? Money's not like I wasted money. I spent it sensibly." "Wisely?" I asked. "You spend $93,000 on a vacation you cannot afford. You're unemployed. How is that wise?" "Well, I couldn't simply cruise and skip out on the experiences," he grumbled. "What's the point of going if you're not living it up?" I'd finished, done with his entitlement and with his apologies. "Ethan, can you even hear yourself? You stole from me. This isn't your money, it's mine." Like it was no great issue. "Relax, Alex, you'll get it back." I shot, "You're darn right I'll get it back." I next gave my mother a call. On the first ring she responded, most likely already preparing herself. "Alex, I understand you're unhappy, but..." "Upset, Mom. Upset doesn't even start to cover it. You and Ethan charged $93,000 to my card. $93,000. "Oh, stop exaggerating," she remarked, her voice laden with that usual disdain. "Ethan just wanted to have some fun. You're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be." "A bigger deal?" I nearly snarled. "Mom, right. This is fraud." "Don't be so theatrical, Alex. You're always talking about your bonuses and promotions." "We figured you could afford it," I asked, shocked. "And that makes it okay?" She let out a rather long sigh. "Alex, family looks after one another. It's not a big deal. You're part of this family." "Oh, it's a big deal, all right," I responded, sounding icy. "Because I filed a fraud claim. Ethan will be the one paying for all of this. The bank is reversing the charges and forwarding them to him." She paused a while, then burst forward. "You're going to ruin Alex's life. How could you do this to your own brother?" "Ruin his life?" I asked, startled again. "Mom, maybe it's time he started owning his mistakes. He's 27 years old." She objected. "He's just a kid." "A kid? Mum, he's a grown man who stole $93,000 and thought he could get away with it. That's not my fault. That's yours for enabling him." Her voice moved from wrath to begging. "Please, Alex, don't do this. We'll find a way to pay you back. Just phone the bank and undo the claim." I gave a sour chuckle. "Pay me back with what? You couldn't even afford your own bills without my help." "No, Alex. No, Mom. This is on Ethan now. Maybe this will be the wake-up call he needs." Before she could say anything else, I dropped. Ethan left a desperate voicemail that night. "Alex, what the devil? The bank says I owe them $93,000. You have to fix this. I can't pay that kind of money. Call me back, please." I never phoned him back up. Rather, I sat on my couch, drank, and let the quiet envelop me. I was not, for once, tidying their messes. I woke up the next morning to yet another voicemail, this one from Dad, usually the quiet one, the mediator. He sounded desperate too. "Alex, you're upset, but don't you think this is a bit harsh? Ethan made a mistake." "We all make mistakes. Please, son, give him another chance. Call me back." I lacked. My phone had burst with calls and texts from Ethan and my parents before day's end, though every letter was some variant of, "You're ruining Ethan's life," or, "How could you do this to us?" I turned aside all of them. I thought of myself as standing up for something for the first time. Years of being treated like a bottomless pocketbook had allowed them to exploit me. Now, they were at last paying for it. I meant not to solve this for them. It wasn't enough to just stop the theft when the bank closed its inquiry and blamed the $93,000 cost firmly on Ethan. I had to cut them off totally financially. No more monthly payments, no more paying for their recklessness. Most certainly, no more acting as the family safety net. I wrote a group text the next day saying, "Effective immediately, I will no longer contribute financially to this household. You're all on your own." My phone flashed like a Christmas tree within minutes. Mom says, "Alex, you can't just abandon your family like this. Ethan is going through a lot right now." Ethan asks, "Wow, guess you're too good for us now, huh?" Dad said, "Alex, let's talk about this calmly. You're making a mistake." I paid them all little attention. I began instead planning for myself. I started by choosing to relocate. I had chosen my former apartment to be handy for visiting their residence. It was near theirs. but convenience now served as a leash. Time was for a new beginning. Bigger, better, elegant new apartment downtown, further away from their stupidity. Signing the lease seemed like the first actual path toward freedom. That same week I packed, feeling lighter with every box I taped up. Ethan, meanwhile, had begun to spin. About a week later, he gave me a panicked call. "Alex, man! The collectors are calling non-stop. They're saying I owe $93,000. I don't know what to do." I let him wander a while, my expression totally blank as I gazed out the window of my new house. I remarked, "Sounds like a problem you created for yourself," as he at last quit chatting. Whined, "Alex, come on," he said. "You have to help me out. Just give me a few thousand to get the collectors off my back." "Lend you a few thousand?" I said incredulously several times. "Ethan, you stole $93,000 from me. Why on earth would I give you another dime?" he said. "Because I'm your brother," as though that were some sort of mystical argument. "And precisely what does that mean?" I asked. "That I'm supposed to let you rob me blind and then bail you out when it blows up in your face?" "It was not like that," he objected. "I just thought you wouldn't care. Alex, you have so much money. What's $90,000 to you?" What I was hearing defied belief. He still missed it. "Ethan, this is about the principle. The money is secondary. You used me, and now you're paying the cost. Good luck." I blocked his number, hanging up. Ethan wasn't the only one flaking under pressure, of course. Too were my parents, completely in terror. Mom began sending me daily long, guilt-tripped voicemails. "Alex, you're separating this family. How can you sleep at night knowing your brother is suffering? He's your brother, for God's sake. We're supposed to stick together as a family." Join together? Funny how that only seemed relevant when they sought something from me. She even showed up at my office one afternoon entirely without notice. Buzzing me to say there was a woman in the foyer claiming to be my mother was my assistant. I moaned and advised her to send Mom up. She entered my office appearing to have not slept in days. Her eyes had red rims, and her hair was unkempt, her voice cracking. "Alex, please," she pleaded. "Ethan's in trouble. The collectors are going to ruin his life. Please, Alex, we'll pay you back. You're the only one who can help him." I sneered angrily. "With what? What money? You cannot even keep up with your own bills without my help." "Don't act as if you are suddenly going to find $90,000 lying around." Mom's face flattened, but I felt no pity. She had spent years helping Ethan, covering for him, justifying his behavior. She now asked me to tidy the mess. "No, Mom," I responded with great conviction. "This is on Ethan. He made his bed and now has to lie in it. I'm not fixing this for him. Alex, please, he looks up to you. You are his big brother." "No, Mom," I said in interruption. "He looks down on me. He uses me, and so do you. That ends now." I felt I had done the right thing. Though difficult, cutting them off was essential. I was not going to let it continue. They had taken me for granted for far too long. Of course, they viewed it differently. My phone was blowing out calls and texts during the following week. To induce me to change my opinion, they tried every tactic in the book. Guilt, rage, flattery. "Alex, we're your parents. Do we not deserve your support? Bro, just give me some time. I'll pay you back finally." I turned aside every single message. I was finished. After the fraud claim was processed, I expected Ethan's life to begin to fall apart, but I undervalued the speed with which things would spin out of hand. Observing it was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Messy, avoidable, totally his fault. Mom's terrified phone call was the first hint of disaster. She asked, sounding as though this were breaking news, "Alex, did you know Ethan's been getting calls from debt collectors?" "Naturally," I said, trying to keep my voice cool. "That's what happens when you rack up $93,000 you cannot pay back. The collectors are working as they should." Mom responded, "Alex, you don't understand," with almost a begging tone. "He's terrified. They call nonstop and threaten legal action." "Terrified," I snorted. "Good. Maybe he will at last pick something." Mom was quiet for a minute, but I could sense her boiling through the phone. She remarked at last, "You're being unreasonable. Ethan is not a bad person. He simply made a mistake." "A mistake?" I said again incredulously. "Mom, it's a decision he will have to live with." Before she could dispute much further, I hung up. Ethan, on the other hand, wasn't as subdued as Mom. Having banned his phone, he turned to phoning from unidentified numbers, messaging me on social media, and even emailing me. I disregarded it all, until one day, driven only by pure curiosity. I opened one of his emails. The topic line came out as, "Please help me, Alex." He rambled in the email about how he couldn't sleep at night, how the collectors were threatening to sue, and how he was so sorry for what he did. This gem, "I know I messed up, but you're your big brother. Isn't it your job to help me when I'm in trouble?" really caught me, though. Bewildered by his bravado, I fixated on the TV. "My employment is..." Correcting his mess was my responsibility. That was written where. My role was to live my own life, not to act as Ethan's personal bailout fund. Last I looked. I still chose to reply, though, not motivated by pity, but rather driven to clear the record. "Ethan, you're not in trouble because of me. You're in trouble because of your own choices. I didn't tell you to steal my card. I'd not tell you to spend $93,000. And I'm definitely not going to pay for it now. Stop blaming other people for your mistakes. It's time to grow up." I blocked his email address while hitting submit. Ethan landed a job at last during this period. Mom, who contacted me in tears and said, "Ethan's working at a diner. Can you believe that? My poor boy is flipping burgers just to survive." Unimpressed. "That's more than he's done in years," I remarked. "Perhaps this is the lesson he requires in the value of diligence." "But he's miserable," she sobbed. "Alex, you're not cut out for this kind of work." "No one's cut out for flipping burgers, Mom," I remarked gently. "But people do it because they need to survive. He is not unique." Her growing irritation was audible. "Alex, if you just helped him, he wouldn't have to devaluate himself like this." I sighed angrily. "Degrade yourself? Mom, you're acting like he's working in a coal mine. He's flipping burgers. Millions of people do it every day and they don't cry about it. Ethan has problems if he believes this is beneath him." She hung upon me. I suppose I was not expressing her desired listening range. Ethan stayed only briefly in the diner. Mom phoned once more 2 weeks later, this time with much more drama in her voice. "Alex, Ethan quit his job. He said it was too demeaning, and the manager was rude to him." Rolling my eyes. "Let me guess," I murmured. "He is back to doing nothing." She said defensively, "He's looking for something better. You know how difficult it is today to land a decent job." I laughed, unable to help it. "No, Mom, I know how hard it is to work. Ethan doesn't. He's never had to try. You and Dad have always cuddled him. This is the result." She snipped. "Don't you dare blame us. We did the best we could." "Did you?" I answered sharply back. "Because it seems like you have spent Ethan's whole life making excuses for him instead of holding him accountable. Now you are expecting me to pick up the pieces, and it is not going to happen." She hung up once more, and I was left nodding at the sheer ridiculousness of it all. The worst thing was Ethan wasn't depending simply on Mom and Dad to correct problems. He began to burn friendships as well. He apparently had been couch surfing since leaving the cafe, but people soon grew bored with his freelancing. Through the grapevine, that is, my aunt, the family gossip, I learned that he had been expelled from 2 separate flats in the course of 1 month. My aunt said, "He's running out of places to go. You might want to step in before he ends up on the street." I nodded. "Not my problem. Ethan has to work this out on his own." She shot me a negative glance, but it didn't matter. Not right now. Ethan was screwed around the conclusion of the month. Nobody left to sponge off, no work, no couch to rest on. Mom and Dad were hardly keeping it together themselves, and their calls to me shifted from guilt-tripping to pure desperation. One night, Dad said, "Alex, we don't know what to do anymore." His voice weighed with fatigue. "Ethan needs help. He is lost." I said simply, "Then help him." "We lack the resources," he said. I said, "That's not my fault." Dad sighed, and for once he avoided conflict. He realized, I believe, that I was right. Though it was unavoidable, Ethan's fall from grace was brutal. Having coasted on other people's kindness all his life, he had to learn how to stand on his own, now that it was gone. That yet had to be seen, whether he would or not. Time went by, and the more regular calls from my parents grew in urgent tone. They were experiencing the whole weight of Ethan's mess. I would formally cut off my financial support, and without my consistent $2,000 a month, they were having trouble paying their bills. It was only a matter of time until Ethan's house of cards fell apart with his debt collectors hounding him and growing home bills. The voicemails kicked off it. "Alex, please, we don't know what to do anymore. Ethan's debt collectors won't stop calling the house, and we're behind on the mortgage. We need your help." I still didn't reply. And then arrived the in-person ambushes. I was almost through my coffee one Saturday morning when someone knocked on my flat door. Opening it, I discovered my parents standing there looking as though they had aged 5 years in the past month. Mom's voice wobbly. "Alex, we need to talk." I sighed and cleared a path, inviting them in. Fidgety like they didn't know where to start, they sat on my couch, crossing my arms. "All right," I murmured. "What's so critical that you had to show up uninvited?" Mom shed tears in her eyes. Alex remarked gently, "We're losing the house. We missed 2 mortgage payments. Should we not pay by the end of the month, they will foreclose on us." Blinking startled, but not shocked me. Even with my support, I knew they had been living beyond their means for years. It wasn't long before the fractures began to emerge without my monthly donations. Knowing the response already, I asked, "And you want me to fix it?" Dad leaned forward with tightly clenched fists. "Alex, we just need 1 payment. We are not asking you to pay off everything. Help us get through this tough patch." "1 payment?" I said, increasing in voice. "Dad, you're asking me to bail you out again. Do you realize this is exactly why you're in this mess? You've been enabling Ethan for years, and now it's catching up with you." Mom began to cry, but I didn't blink. "We didn't know what else to do," she sobbed. "We couldn't simply abandon Ethan. He needed us. And now you're expecting me to do what you couldn't?" I answered sharply. "Abandon my own financial stability to save someone else who doesn't even want to save himself." Dad moaned and massaged his temples. "Alex, we made mistakes. We know that. But this is our home. You grew up there. Doesn't that mean nothing to you?" "It does," I said. "But it's not sufficient for me to toss away my future. You had years to make better decisions, and you didn't." "I'm not cleaning up your mess." Mom tried one more last time. "Alex, we have always supported you. Please." I sliced her off with a hand. "Stop right there. The only reason I have been able to get where I am today is because I stopped depending on you a long time ago. You supported me. I supported you. And I am done." The stillness was intolerable. I didn't care even though they treated me as if I had just slapped them. I quit feeling bad about defending myself. A few weeks later, the unofficial family gossip, my aunt called, concerned in her voice. "Alex, did you hear about your parents? Already preparing for terrible news." "No. What happened?" I asked. "They sold the house," she declared. "Apparently they're moving into a small apartment near downtown and couldn't keep up with the payments once you stopped helping." Though it soon passed, I felt a twinge of shame. Selling the house was most likely their wisest choice of action in years. It was a result they couldn't avoid. Perhaps it would at last compel them to rethink their priorities. Curious, I asked, "What about Ethan?" Sighing, my aunt said, "Oh, he's still a mess. Your parents can't afford to support him anymore, and none of his friends want to deal with him for more than a few days." "Good," I remarked just once. A few days later, Mom texted me, "We've moved into the apartment. It's not much, but it's all we can afford now. I hope you're happy." Short and direct. I have not responded. Ethan's life kept spiraling in the meantime. Word returned to me via a common buddy who had sought another work, but quit after a week because it was too stressful. Apparently, he believed the collectors would finally give up if he simply ignored them long enough. Through the same person, I learned about Ethan burning most of his social contacts. Nobody wanted to deal with him for very long. His entitled attitude didn't exactly get him any sympathy points, and he was fast running out of places to visit. Regarding my parents, the reality of their changed living circumstances began to take hold. Their nice suburban house gave way to a small 2-bedroom apartment in a rundown area of town. Dad had to pick up a part-time job to help with expenses. Mom, who hadn't worked in decades, was finding it difficult to fit their new spending. My aunt would provide updates on their situation every now and again. She stated once, "Your dad's been talking about looking for a better job, and would you believe that your mother has been learning to coupon?" I laughed, unable to help it. "Maybe it will be good for them," I answered. "They've spent too long living in denial. This might be what they need to finally change." All of this occurred some time ago. Ethan is still employed at the warehouse, but he barely makes it between pay garnishments and lack of financial awareness. He's saving for a beat-up car, last I know, but he hasn't progressed very far. Mom and Dad have ceased begging me for money. They are learning to live in their new reality. I suppose they have at last come to see me as no personal ATM anymore. To grow, people occasionally must bear the whole weight of their consequences. Ethan might still be in denial, but my parents appear to be getting it gradually but definitely. While some people learn the hard way, Others pick knowledge from books. Ethan, though he's still working on spelling consequences, at least it's not my issue anymore. Stand your ground. Everyone is handling a family like mine. You owe them no sanity. Your job is not to clean their messes. Establish limits, keep to them, and resist the guilt from controlling you.